extensible. We can really add K outside of the schema, and then we can get DCSO to work. That's really nice. It's really easy to parse. For the one who have never decoded JSON programmatically, it's just JSON.decode, and you put the strings. So that's OK. Beginner level, that's really nice. So you can build your own tool. That's really convenient. And you don't need anymore to build a super expensive license for QRadar on 10 people on site for 2 years. You can just use GQ that does the same kind of thing. Like you can have this crazy command line that will give you the list of HTTP user agents in your network. It's just one command. Yes, it takes some computation time, but if you are running that in AWS, we will have some sponsor that will be really happy. So yes, JSON is really, really a key. One problem that we had with UniFi 2 is that on the alert that we have in UniFi 2, where just the single information that we had was information about the signature and IP addresses. So IP addresses were quite interesting at a time where having one server web was a big accomplishment in a company. Now, if you don't have 10 web servers, you are not a successful company. And in a lot of cases, one single domain will be hosted on different websites. So that's exactly what we have here. We've got one alert, which is the one about USB metadata being sent to Microsoft, or informational alert. And we can, as you can see, they share the same host name. In fact, we have 2 different IP addresses that we contact. So if you want to take, if you want to study things and be able to zoom on things and understand things, IP addresses are not enough. And I'm not talking about something that is hosted on a CDN, because in this case, you can really have a huge number of addresses, and what will matter will be the HTTP host name, but TLS, SNI, this kind of information. Some people said IDS is dead. I like to say in the same kind of desperate manner, PCAP are dead, because in a lot of cases, you can use all the metadata that are present in the JSON event to really understand the context of the information, and then you do not need to jump in the PCAP. So yes, you got really a lot of information inside the metadata extracted, because now you got SMB info, HTTP info, you got everything in the JSON event, so that's really convenient to be able to understand the data, because a lot of people were thinking that PCAP data are really mandatory because you did not add the metadata, so you were forced to do that in Wireshark or some other tools or some other comparable tool. Okay. One of good things to have JSON is that, and have metadata inside, is that you can start to think about automation, like analysis, statistics. You can even be the fancy kid in the block with doing some machine learning or artificial intelligence. You have a lot of possible features, so you can do some computation, statistics, machine learning. That's really convenient to have everything available in the alert. But can we do better? Can we improve that? Because in some cases, we know that we have some interesting context inside a traffic, and that we could use. For instance, a malware is extracting some information. What about trying to extract the information too in the signature, so we can enhance the signature and get more information? So we will show you some techniques that are available in Suricata since quite long. Yes, they benefit from the sticky buffer move of Suricata 5.0 in a lot of cases, but it was already possible before, but that's not really well known, and we just wanted to focus in this talk on this specific subject. So let's take this malware. On this alert, so spy banker as CUT, SID from ET Pro Open, I don't remember. You've got this one. So the signature is the following. Alert HTTP, some user agent, and then in the client body, we've got plugin, user, antivirus, IV, and I'm missing one, Windows. Which type of Windows? And if you look at the PCAP, yes, PCAP is dead, but not useful anymore. Anyway, you have got the data in the post, like plugin, sub-plugin Windows, Windows 7 Enterprise, and the username. So that's quite interesting to know the username, because if you want to do incident response, and if the alert is providing you the username that is impacted, you can just get in the directory, call the person in charge, and you're good. You can even do a list of users by using the data. So how can I extract this information in the signature, get them ready to use by the data lake that handle the data? So let's read the documentation. What do we have? We have data in the post, content, so we'll try to extract them. So we need to extend the existing signature from ETPRO to capture the value and add them to the JSON. Sadly, the technique is not correctly referenced in the documentation, so it's a new question in the CTF. Write the documentation and submit a pull request to Victor to explain how you can use that. Can we modify the CTF, please? And yes, so it's a blog post by Victor from 2016 about Suricata, bits, ints, and vars, and it explains this kind of thing. So we have this, thanks to Suricata 5.0 and the sticky buffer, we can change the logic of saying content HTTP plugin in the HTTP client body to http.requestBody content plugin, and then do all the matches. So that's easier. And then, on top of that, after this match, we can add the PCRE matching that is doing flow extraction. So yes, it will have a cost, but it will just be run once we are sure that we have a match. So it's just kind of a post-processing that we are doing in the signature. And what we are doing here is that we fire a PCRE, we look for the prefix of a user variable, we take everything till the next variable, the A, ampersand, sorry, and we assign this to a flow variable that is named username. And we do the same for the Windows, and we do the same for the antivirus information. The result is the following. In the signature, you have the variable username, Windows, and antivirus that appear in the JSON. So you have seen that in a few regular expressions, you manage to extract in everything and have them as key in the JSON event. So let's get a little bit to something a little bit more complex in terms of writing, which is this good old signature that is outgoing basic base64 HTTP authentication. So we still find this in the wild quite a lot. I don't know, I know a lot of customers where I've seen that. And so that's interesting because we have user double-dot-password encoded in base64 that is available in all the requests, which means we have a user when they have the password of the people. So it will be really interesting to collect that, to be able to check for reuse, like people using the same password on the Active Directory and the 20 years old WordPress that we have on the other side. That can be something useful. So we could do the same technique, base64, but it's base64, so PCRE will extract base64. That's not really convenient because we need to post-process that a little bit after. So it's a bit like the cat, we can drink, but it's a bit painful. So let's try to do that in a more elegant way. But yes, base64 decoding, we have a base64 decode keyword in the language, but in our example, we look at some header, we don't know the length, so it's a bit complicated to get, I did not manage to get it like that, so I did do it the Viking way using Lua. So what can you do with that? So first thing, you got the traditional Lua init. You ask for two things that are a bit unusual, flovar, username and password, that we will use in the matching code to fill the extracted value in. And we have one new keyword introduced in Suricata 5.0, which is buffer, that will match on the actual, that will get us the data of the actual sticky buffer. The match function is not rocket science. I check for the authorization, basic, then base64 decode, I do a split to get the username, double dot, the password. Then I can just, if it's successful, I can just set the value. So I use the sc flovar set function of Lua, of Suricata Lua, and this call will put in the username the value, the first value of the array. And we do exactly the same for the second flovar, with the second flovar set, to do that with the password. And this way, we manage to extract the password and the username. The result is the following. We got username and password that are displayed in the event. So, yep. I let
this one. So, I don't often write signatures, but when I do, I tend to do it like a pro. So like sticky buffers or nothing, like sticky buffer or die. So, you know, we try to learn from the best. So, basically, I just want to point out a couple of things when what Victor was mentioning initially yesterday as well. I think data sets are a massive feature in 5.0, even though still experimental, because basically you can march these large amounts of data onto any sticky buffer, and in 5.0 they're about 50. Of course, you can also run some Lua scripting and logic on any sticky buffer as well, which is super, super powerful. And I thought I'll throw in there that it works in the cloud. I get a lot more attention like that. So how many people were here in the advanced class? Okay, I think, because we actually tried that in the advanced class as an exercise. So basically, what we tried to detect there is lateral movement over SMB based on some entropy detection with Lua. And here's an example. Basically, we have the SMB signature that is looking for some fast pattern content, starts with Windows // we're looking for a high entropy in the name itself. So we're checking for Windows path. Then after we're done, we're trying to, of course, minimize the things we're looking at as much as possible before we engage Lua, because it's expensive. And this is a very simple, small example. In this specific case, what we were after is something like this. If you notice, this is a file info event of Samba, you know, executable transfer. So what we're after here is that long.exe name that looks highly unusual and suspicious. Usually you have a lot of signatures from the ET rule set, for example, that will generate a lot of alerts, like, for example, executable transfer over Samba and similar stuff like that. But in this particular case, we were after, you know, we just want to knock down that entropy. So basically, a very simple Lua scripty thingy. We just get whatever is in that buffer, and that's the file name, actually, file.name. Then we get it and we do a match on that. We try to, actually, when we get that specific name, we try to run the entropy detection function of Lua, which is the picture on the side here, on the right side here. And then, yeah, it really depends on the environment, and you know, of course, you need to work on limiting the false positives in this case, but you can also use the file events, file info events from Suricata, and in this case, this function was actually readily available on the net. There's plenty of these for all different sorts of languages, Lua, C, you name it. Even there was even something written in awk and bash and stuff like that. So detecting entropy. So basically, what we're after is just launching that entropy Lua script match against the file name to find the weirdness in there. And in our case, where the CL is here is bigger than 4, what we're looking for. So the result is something like that. So we have an alert generated where we actually detect that this is on the left-hand side you see file entropy 4.845, and on the right-hand side is actually some of the signature JSON extract. So we thought that would be an easy way to demonstrate, the powerful combination of sticky buffers and some Lua and similar stuff. Like, you do need to, of course, work on it and minimize the performance impact, as Lua, again, is expensive compared to the traditional speeds of Suricata and all that. This here is actually also part of the list. So we have the file name here, which we actually detect, and it's a pretty weird long character .exe name. So that's not a golden bullet. You will not catch any and all bad actors in lateral movement, but it's one that is worth it actually looking at, and we just wanted to demo a little bit of the advancements in 5.0, in Suricata 5.0 with that. Let's see. Yeah, conclusion. So, I mean, 5.0 by far, so we actually say that for all of the release of Suricata, 3.0 was the best, and then 4.0, and then 5.0, and then 6.0 probably is going to be even more awesomeness and things like that. But the sticky buffer power, the data sets power, and that combination that is in 5.0 alongside with all the other improvements, it's a huge step forward actually into what we could further see in traffic, what we could tell, and what we could, run detection on and similar stuff. Anything to add? No, okay. So, questions? Yeah, oh.
Yes. Not really a question, but so the flow vars are set per flow, as the name implies. SMB can have many files in a single flow, so you may get into some trouble with if you have one file that sets the entropy, that the next one would also set it. At least in the output.
No, if the next one we will have entropy anyway, so we will have a flow var for it, and we will update the entropy in the signature in this case. But I agree, maybe it's better to do a packet variable.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe we need, so we have like packets, we have flows, we have transactions and files. So maybe we need this infrastructure for all of them and not just for a subset. So great talk, thanks.
Good point.
Any more questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.